who put forward some questions. If there are there any more questions that anybody would like? No? All right, so we're going to go ahead. The first question we have is, before I do that, let me just introduce Natalie, who will be helping Taryn answer some of the questions this morning. Natalie is the biblical counselor here at St. Stephen's. So for those of you who have never seen her before, if this is the first time you've seen her, that's why she's up here. So thank you, Natalie. The first one is, as a working mother with home and church and family responsibilities, how should I biblically define the word success?
Thank you. I think that's an excellent question, and I think Taryn has summarized it so nicely in her talk, at the end of the talk. I would say that success, according to the Lord, is faithfulness to Him. And I think in Ecclesiastes 12, 13 to 14, just says it so perfectly. Fear God and keep His commandments. And I think that's the essence of faithfulness. And I think He's not looking for an elaborate CV. He's not looking for your checked off to-do list. He's looking for your love and your faithfulness to Him.
Thank you, Natalie. I hope that answers the question to that. The second one, do we not need a balance of busyness and rest?
I think absolutely. I think if we look at how God has created the world and put in the Sabbath day as a day of rest, and He says in Deuteronomy, 6 days you shall labor, on the seventh day you shall rest. So even from how the way God designed the world Himself, He also rested. He modeled that rest for us. But that was preceded by good, solid work. So both are important, and He shows a pattern, a rhythm of work and rest. So yes, there is a balance, but not in the sense of 50-50 maybe. He is expecting that there is more work, but there must be rest as well. And I think we can emulate that pattern even within our day. You cannot work from the moment your eyes open till the moment your eyes close. You need to have breathing space in between, as Taryn was saying. We need to create that blank space, that margin to think, and to pray. Yeah.
I think, obviously there's busyness that happens that we can't control, right? So if I don't know, a family member gets sick and you need to be there all the time or something like that. That's not the kind of busyness that I was actually talking about in the talk, if that's helpful. So obviously things happen, and that's, I think, where we have to just surrender to God and to His sovereignty, that, He's allowed that in this strange season of extra busyness, and trust Him in that, right? That He will sustain us and give us what we need. But that can't be all of life. That makes sense, right? When normal life needs to be a proper balance between busyness and rest. Yeah. So I think I was trying to address the other side of busyness, where it's the things we actually can control, and it's our own fault that we're so busy. And so that's why that question's so important, where you have to ask yourself, is this busyness something that, is it driven by those three wrong desires, or is it just something that, okay, God has put on my plate now and I need to get on and deal with it? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank you. And I think it's important for us to see that in our faithfulness to God and to His Word, we can see how the Bible, it praises both hard work and rest at the same time. So there should really be a balance. The next question, how do I approach busyness if most of what I do, I have to do? Like feed the family, pay medical aid bills, run admin, etc. I think that actually, I don't know answer, but I think that does answer, the previous question answered that. Oh. All right, and then the last question we have, falling. I'm not quite sure what the approach was to the question. So whoever asked this, if you are welcome to elaborate. It says the saying goes, if you want something done, give it to a busy person. I'm not sure. Would the person who asked, yes.
I mean, I think it's true. I think it's true because generally the kind of people that are busy all the time, like tend to, like I was saying in talk, tend to add more. So if someone comes and asks, they're like, okay, fine. But I think we're trying to fight that comment and be like, should the busy person be taking on more, right? Just because that's what we normally do, and that's what happens, doesn't mean we should be. Does that help? I think so. Yeah. Because it's not going to help you fear God, right? And love other people. So, yeah. But unfortunately, there are some people in life that are A-type and try and do everything, like myself. So then when I get posed with another proposal, I say yes. But that doesn't mean I should say yes. So I guess that saying just shows what we're talking about here, that those wrong desires are in all of us, and that's why it's a generalization we can see in society. It's playing itself out. Yeah.
Well, those were all the questions in the jar. Is there one more question that anybody would like to ask? Yes.
Maybe it's helpful to think about work and busyness separately, because they're not the same thing. So if in my job I have to do A, B, and C, and those are the things I have to do or I'll get fired, I may or may not like them, but that is work, and that's my 6 days. And if I'm a mom, then that involves what Sam was saying. So whatever that is, that's your work. Just because you're doing your work doesn't mean you have to be busy. Maybe, I don't know if that's helpful.
Yeah. And I think that goes with Taryn's, I can't remember which point it was, or the first point. When we say that most of our busyness is our own fault. I mean, even if I think of my own life, there are things that I have to do, but sometimes the way I approach it's incorrect. Or I've procrastinated, and now I'm like terribly busy because the things I have to do, I didn't do it in the correct time, I didn't prepare for it, or something like that. Yeah.
Could I say something?
Yes.
Just to add to that, I think it might be, rather than using the word fault, because then it kind of creates quite a guilt attachment, just to understand it in terms of choice. I think that's quite important. And I think we can't make any changes to our lives until we realize that much of what we do and much of how our lives are is because of choice. So to see that. And it's actually empowering, because if you're just a victim, there's nothing you can do about it. Yeah. But if it's a choice, you have some agency over it. And I think, and God has given that to us. I think we often feel like we don't have a choice, but we do. We just don't like the consequences of the choice. And those we need to sort of see clearly. So I think praying for discernment around what we do with our lives is so important. And I just wanted to just remind you ladies that there are 2 very helpful resources just on the table at the back there, 2 little bits of paper that can start to help you think through your life and what choices you are making. And the one is from Colleen, who's the other biblical counselor, and she's it's a kind of a little worksheet called A Model for Ordering Your Priorities. So it'll help you think through what you are prioritizing and why, and what you could potentially drop or delegate. And then the other handout is practical strategies for change and learning how to rest. It's got some really helpful points, so can I encourage you to pick one up on your way out?
There may not be enough copies for everybody, so if you do get there and there aren't enough, I think there are a few pages. So I'm sure can they be emailed to people if they leave there? Yeah. So if you just leave your email address, even if you just write it on the piece of paper, Or we do have the Connect forms that it's on your table, and there are some more at the back. So if you are wanting some, I know that this is to connect for people who would like to know more about Jesus, church family, life groups, kids ministry, teens ministry, way to serve, and you put your details on there. But if you really don't have any papers and you'd want the resources, I'm sure you could pop it on here as well. But if you do have any other questions that haven't been answered, or you'd still like to ask something, or any questions about anything else that you've been wondering about, please do fill it out on this form along with your details. You can tear it off at the back, at the bottom, and then you can pop it into the jar as well. I'll go and put it back on the table at the back. Okay. All right. Thank you. That is the end of our Q&A session, and also the end of our morning together. Just a reminder that Kelly, Natalie, and Taryn will be at the back of the church if you'd like to chat to them and pray. And then also the table plants, the table greens, you are welcome to grab any of it and take it if you would like it. Then also, if you look at the screen, up at the screen, we've got our Sunday services we'd just like to invite you to if you're not a regular here. So we have an 8:30 a.m. Service with a kids program available, and at 10 a.m. As well with another kids program, and then 6 p.m. in the evening for those of us who aren't morning people. And then there are our Easter services and events coming up. So 9 a.m. on Good Friday, 8:30 and 10 a.m. Easter Sunday services, and 6 p.m. we will have an Easter Sunday service as well. Okay, and then I'd just like to pray for us before we leave. And I'd like to say thank you to the ladies and the team. I think it was a wonderful morning together.